Caesarea Jamil suppresses yawns amidst the long, solemn ceremony inside a cave, where the voices of priests echo in prayer. It is not just a ritual of doctrine, but a necessary preparation for victory and safety. The chants for a bountiful sea journey and the clamor to construct vessels are frequent. Caesarea, restless and skeptical, counts down the minutes. Beside Caesarea stands Lance Maspotter. Older and irreverent, Lance holds an informal demeanor even towards Caesarea, who is from Alien's royal family. Lance leans in, whispering to Caesarea about the futility of the ceremony. In a light tone, he teases about the spirits getting angry. Caesarea, slightly annoyed but amused, criticizes the pointless stretching out of the priest's ritual, wondering how such outdated details still persist in a kingdom built on war. Amid some laughter, Lance points out the title given to Caesarea, Alien's Little Tyrant. Caesarea dismisses this nickname even as it makes him seem ruthless to outsiders due to his swift and decisive actions. Lance calmly responds to Caesarea, expressing admiration and loyalty despite the volatile moniker. Their friendship includes teasing banter and deeper respect beneath a facade of jest. The narrative shifts to the political tension surrounding the Dishon affair. Lance mentions Caesarea's role in a grand political maneuver, the alliance with the Dishons and the princess whose alliance bolstered Alien's power. However, the situation devolved into chaos, disrupting any hopes of a smooth integration, an event weighing heavily on Caesarea's mind. Caesarea faces the realities of having to enforce Alien's dominance and strategizing around the heartlands that lie ahead. The soldiers stationed in Dishon wrestle with simmering unrest and an insurrection that threatened to upend the initial venture. Despite the success in quelling the rebellion, Caesarea had found himself embroiled still deeper into the convoluted alliances and betrayals that define Alien's expanse. Unable to join in the recent conflict resolution himself, Caesarea gets enough information during his reprieve to make tactical assessments. The rebellion's roots are dissected, with Lance confirming his hindsight on how the event could have been inevitable. This was a time when allegiances could grow fertile with malcontent. They talk of the rumored involvement of Lance in quelling the uprising. Caesarea appreciates Lance's gruff loyalty despite being tasked with physically submitting the rebellion. Lance recounts seeing the princess's younger sister, whose beauty still lingers in his thoughts. Caesarea's absence from that campaign adds a tinge of regret and a vow that upon his return, he will set things right, or at least apply his distinct methods to quell any remaining unrest. Meanwhile, musicians continue an endless war chant, and the ceremony drags on. A lull in the rhythm allows Caesarea to sigh. Despite his frustrations, he remains aware of the roles his decisions play. Even if it's something you weren't particularly interested in, as long as you wanted it, it's good. Lance recalls this sentiment as an indication of Caesarea's conviction. But Lance understands more than anyone that Caesarea is no mere tyrant. In his heart, Caesarea carries desires that could significantly alter the world stage when unleashed. As the narrative transitions, we focus on a contrasting scene in Safia, the water capital. Known for decadence in art and beauty, Safia is far removed from the political upheaval scene in All-Ion. Its citizens are embroiled in discussions of fashion and artistry rather than war, but war is on the horizon. Eric Ducklin walks the streets, taking in the splendid chaos of Safia. He prepares for the future as the next Grand Duke of Dairan, a region facing imminent threat from All-Ion. Eric senses the ominous clouds gathering and frets over the intelligence reports he has received, aware of the looming danger All-Ion poses. His mind only eased somewhat by council meetings, a facade of calm hides the urgent preparations beneath. Yet, the unease forms a tight bond with the planning strategies necessary to greet Caesarea's ambitions with resistance. Dairan's people seem naive, believing they are out of reach of war's fangs. Eric tries to maintain composure and not alarm them with certain words of impending danger while steeling himself internally. His younger sisters, Thil and Reen, embody the innocence and warmth that pervades his family. They offer Eric affection and support. Reen playfully criticizes Eric's new title, reminding him of the responsibility and honor it carries. Her encouragement is earnest. Eric keeps his concerns to himself, holding back from sharing the disquiet looming over him. As political worries press down, he knows that maintaining the illusion of peace a little longer will aid his preparations, but he longs for a moment he can share the truth with his beloved sisters. For now, subterfuge and quiet diligence must be his allies. Eric grimly contemplates the looming threat of war over Zonga, a central city between Mephius and Garbira. With Princess Caesarea Mephius on her way to the front lines, Eric braces himself for all that might come. He advises Caius Plutus, a key ally, on the importance of securing support from the local nobility to protect against Alien's army. Despite the looming shadow of conflict, Eric feels the pressure of assuming command in Rhine, especially with the recent intelligence suggesting that Alien's forces might soon move. It's a struggle for him, compounded by his own young age and memories of his deceased brother, Jeremy. Meanwhile, at Inda, Orba experiences an unexpected disturbance. A group of young men, led by Doug, bursts into town, claiming to know Orba. They're dressed in mismatched, dusty clothes, their brash demeanor a tad bit unsettling for the townsfolk. Doug insists on meeting Orba, revealing his knowledge of Orba's true identity as the Crown Prince of Mephius, to which Orba listens with bemusement. Doug's revelation stirs an uncommon feeling within Orba, something akin to nostalgia, as he remembers the dream where he was Gil Mephius. The charismatic and slightly cheeky Doug suggests an alliance. Fascinated by Orba's real identity as the Crown Prince, Doug wants to join forces and promises loyalty. However, Orba, pragmatically cautious, orders Pasha to escort Doug away, not fully trusting him despite the young man's enthusiasm. Elsewhere, Rogue Cyan and his allies mull over their next move. The tension is palpable as they deliberate whether Gil Mephius should make his presence known to regain his legitimacy. Foka Baron advises caution, cautioning against making reckless accusations against a formidable opponent like Ghoul. The intricate dance of diplomacy and intrigue continues as Orba makes a compelling speech to his soldiers, emphasizing unity and not giving in to fear or reckless action. His leadership stands in stark contrast to his father's, driven by a desire for a country where everyone can express their opinions without reserve. Despite the formidable front presented, Orba inwardly battles apprehension, knowing too well how the tides of war could swiftly change. The task of preparing for a possible alliance against Orlion over Old Mephius hangs heavily over him. With Dairan, Garbira, and Mephius all interconnected in their strategies, a misstep could alter the course of their futures permanently. As Eric focuses on the forthcoming confrontation with Orlion, he strives to gather his allies. For Orba, the challenge lies in reconciling past identities with present personas amidst the whirlwind of alliances. The march to war seems inevitable, pushing each character to explore the depths of their resolve. In this tense climate, their fates draw ever closer, entwining with every decision they make. Orba stands on the ramparts, reflecting on the journey that led him to this point. His acquaintance with Goin stretches back a long way, but it's only now that he receives a letter from him. Unsealing it with curiosity, Orba finds a smile crossing his face as he reads Goin's handwritten note. Pasha, always attentive, notices and asks about the source of Orba's amusement. Orba deflects, saying, "It's about Layla." This seems to end the conversation, but Pasha remains inquisitive about Layla's involvement in recent events. Layla, previously a maid to Princess Velina of Garbira, had unexpectedly found herself embroiled in political intrigue. Initially poisoned by conspirators, Layla managed to survive thanks to aid from comrades like Orba. Orba had her confined in Apta to protect her from further harm. He still needed to unravel the truth about her ambiguous role. Was she an assassin or merely a pawn? Grappling with these uncertainties, Orba muses over his next steps. He decides not to execute Layla, hoping instead to glean crucial information from her about the Crown Prince's whereabouts. He's cognizant that any knowledge she holds could potentially be detrimental to him. "I'll have someone watch over her," Goin suggests, wary of any threat Layla might pose. The sun sets over the land, casting soft hues over Apta. Soldiers, along with their machines, patrol the ground and skies, vigilant against any threats. Orba stares towards the east, where Zart Quark's ongoing rebellion catches his thoughts. Pasha intrudes on his solitude, questioning his plans regarding the Emperor's invitation. Orba acknowledges the precarious position they're in, with multiple factions at play. Dialogue with Pasha reveals Orba's strategic dilemma. Reflecting on past encounters and growing threats, Orba contemplates summoning reinforcements from Nedain, yet he loathes the idea of further weakening the Empire's forces. He laments, "If I move now, it'll only look like I'm fleeing from Alien's imperial might." But the conversation reveals deeper truths. Orba articulates the challenge of performing under pressure, a relentless wind of conflicting loyalties. His bond with Velina and obligation to protect those around him cannot simply outweigh the loyalty to those fighting on the front lines. As Yura dawns, Orba finds Pasha by his side, steadfast and ready. The two share a tense exchange, where Pasha's deep-seated loyalty and frustration emerge. "For you," Pasha snarls, "I draw my sword without hesitation." He challenges Orba's resolve, asking if Orba is prepared to sacrifice what's necessary for their shared cause. Orba reassures Pasha, reaching out with a firm hand. "If you have things you want to protect enough to spare my corpse, then do so," Orba replies enigmatically, emphasizing that only by moving forward together can they change the current tide of conflict. Shortly after, Orba departs to meet Fedem, who has recently returned from Nedane. Fedem exudes a mix of apprehension and hope, aware of the political current sweeping the realm. He presents Orba with a letter from Indolf, a potent sign that reconciliation might be possible, though Fedem remains skeptical. A strategic conversation unfolds as Fedem voices concern over Orba's disguise, his identity as a commoner masquerading as nobility. The fears reveal a shared understanding: should Orba's true nature be exposed, it would unravel carefully laid plans, potentially dooming their effort. Fedem, however, is moved by Orba's resonance and honesty. Despite political tensions, Orba's leadership inspires trust, which could prove vital for their ultimate aim. That evening, Orba gathers generals Rogue, Odine, and Foka in Nedane Castle. They deliberate over their dwindling options and the fragility of their cause. "What do you think is the one thing we must not do?" Orba asks Rogue, challenging the general's wisdom. The impending siege weighs heavily on their shoulders, yet a renewed resolve emerges from the conversation. It's a testament to their determination. They rally under the banner that we raised, a symbol of hope rekindled despite looming desperation. Ultimately, Orba entrusts the generals with defending their territory, determined to see this struggle through to a rightful conclusion. As the generals stand and salute, Orba remains unwavering, embodying the cause hopeful rebels cling to amid turbulent times. When the emperor summons the crown prince to the imperial capital, tension hangs heavy in the air. The people stir with concern, chattering about the prince's actions once he arrives. They worry aloud, their voices mingling with fear. Will the civil war continue? Amidst the general uncertainty, Princess Velina captures particular attention. There are whispers about her capturing an intruder, Salamand, before returning to her homeland, Garbira. It becomes a symbol of hope, as Velina had gained significant popularity among the people. Back in Garbira, Empress Melissa receives news about the prince's summon. Although outwardly calm, she internally grapples with the implications. Her world had once been steeped in conflict, and she knows the weight of war stories and the scars they leave behind. A maid cautiously mentions, "Is the rumor that His Majesty invited him to Solan true?" The query of whether this might indicate the prince isn't the true heir is left hanging, the tension palpable. Meanwhile, Melissa plans to meet her elderly guard, Tanis, an old hand versed in destiny's unfolding paths. He reassures her, it will run its course and it will be as things should. This brings Melissa little comfort, but she hides her worry with grace. Later, sharing dinner with her daughters, attention turns to Inelli, the elder sister. When Melissa mentions an old book from His Majesty, Inelli stiffens. A haunting memory lurks beneath the surface of this seemingly innocent conversation. Outside, Inelli reflects alone, her thoughts spiraling back to a past experience. She remembers a search for a soldier, a man linked with hidden threats. Her curiosity flamed by the chance to meet such a person, she had ordered the encounter herself. Inelli's confidence contrasts strongly with her youth as she awaits the man she had summoned. Elsewhere, a young soldier named Bane remembers a dangerous plot. Being part of the now dispersed Black Armored Division, he recalls an ambush orchestrated against them. Shouting and fighting, betrayal had raged around him. Trapped, Bane had managed to escape with the help of Gil, an enigmatic figure who seemed to hold the weight of Bane's survival in his hands. Amidst battles and panic, Bane had seen the cunning manipulation of traitors, the sting of treachery surrounding him like a vicious circle. Reflecting on those turbulent times, he suddenly realizes the weight of the brand on his hand, a symbol of slavery. Staring at it, the harsh truth cuts deep, and he trembles, fearing its implications. Inelli approaches him, recognizing the turmoil he's drowning in. She reaches out, whispering comfort, "It's all right. Don't be afraid." Her voice becomes his anchor, preventing him from being swallowed by despair. The embrace, gentle and tender, breaks through his barriers. Bane, awash with emotions, grips tightly to the connection offered to him after so long in darkness. The bond forged in that moment is powerful, a lifeline thrown across seas of uncertainty and fear. As Bane stands amidst the ruins of his own haunted memories, Inelli asserts herself with dignity unexpected for her age. Her actions, driven by connections within Mephius and her mother, Melissa's, legacy, weave a web of influence around her. While within the confinements of Mephius, Inelli's title of Imperial Princess affords her a measure of respect and power that she wields with surprising deftness. In this delicate interplay of power and vulnerability, so many destinies are intertwined, setting the stage for the inevitable upcoming storm. Amidst the chaos, Bane and Inelli's paths have crossed with meaningful impact, and as their stories unfurl, the whispers of war, betrayal, and resilience echo through the corridors of power and beyond. Crowds throng the highway, eager to catch a glimpse of Crown Prince Gil Mephius as he journeys toward Solan. The air is thick with anticipation, marking this as a momentous occasion in the shifting sands of Mephius's political landscape. At the vanguard of the procession, Prince Gil rides a majestic white horse, his commanding presence bolstered by the steely-eyed swordsman, Orba, a former gladiator whose renown has skyrocketed. The people gaze upon them, with Orba especially drawing whispers of awe and curiosity. Gil, a tactical mind, has orchestrated the trip as possibly his last journey. He navigates the delicate balance of power between himself and Emperor Ghoul Mephius. Meanwhile, Orba grapples with haunting memories of his past battles and the recent duel against the Emperor's forces that brought them here. Upon reaching Solan, the narrative shifts to the former soldier Ubri Bailan, who resides in shadowy isolation after being tried for a rebellious act against Gil. His once grand residence now mirrors his diminished significance. Ubri's interaction with a chamberlain hints at the city's simmering tension, as news spreads of the prince's arrival and its implications. In the heart of Solan, Gil Mephius's presence generates ripples of speculation. Emperor Ghoul, who methodically seeks control, prepares for a pivotal confrontation. With a cryptic invitation from the dragon god's faith elders lingering, Ghoul examines a token from the past, an old pistol gifted to a longtime officer. The atmosphere is thick with foreboding, silence reigning over the Imperial Assembly Hall. Emperor Ghoul's court braces itself as Gil enters with unmatched poise. His entry, orchestrated to evoke fear and festivity alike, captivates the court's attention. Gil's familial bond with the Emperor, marked by battles and opponents conquered together, serves as both a backdrop and a counterpoint in their confrontation. As Gil addresses the Emperor, he recounts their shared past and proposes a diplomatic resolution to recent conflicts. Orba listens, aware that this conjures complex sentiments among the gathered nobles and soldiers. His thoughts wander to Inelli, the Emperor's daughter, and the suspenseful uncertainty over what her father's rule might bring. The tension crescendos when Gil expresses gratitude for Ghoul's invitation, subtly asserting his agency even under the Emperor's scrutiny. Their dialogue unfolds like a strategic chess match, with Ghoul's sharp retorts trying to corner his son into a declaration. The climax is reached when Gil tactfully calls upon their combined history of battles, lovingly recalling the camaraderie that once was. This emotional appeal momentarily disarms Ghoul, permitting a faint glimpse of vulnerability to slip through the cracks of his stern demeanor. Yet, both remain steadfast, anchoring themselves in their respective political plays while keeping the court on tenterhooks. Thus, with both aspirations and doubts filling the hall, Gil and Ghoul stage their confrontation, a delicate dance on the fulcrum of power in Mephius. From beneath his heavy eyelids, Emperor Ghoul Mephius gazes upon the one who stands before him, donning his own visage. Shocked, he demands to know why, and with deliberate intention, Gil Mephius has feigned his death, deceiving not only the retinue but his own kin. Why did you deliberately feign your own death and deceive not only the retainers and the people, but even I, your own father, he questions. Confusion fills the hall as Princess Velina had previously posed a similar question. Yet, her inquiry had felt different, surrounded by hope and anticipation, wanting to believe in him, unlike the Emperor's cold glare. Gil explains his ruse, mentioning how after his supposed death, there were rumors which bolstered his resolve to resurrect. He speaks of decisions cloaked in treasonous circumstances, blaming them as the reason behind hiding his identity. While inspecting the treachery, Gil learned it was orchestrated by Duke Bar's camp, masterminded by those within who wished to invade into Mephius' realm. Gil's words stir the audience, laden with claims of deception and schemes. We just barely managed to defeat Ubri. However, when I was interrogated by the Emperor, I was not alone. With those who had once assisted me plotted to assassinate me and make it look as though the West had defected. The hall buzzes with disbelief and whispers of confusion. Is this true? Or is this merely another conspiracy? The tension mounts as Gil frames the chaos on Ubri. To his father's skeptical look, he challenges, "Oh? So who was the one conspiring with Ubri?" Staring around the hall, Gil emphasizes the enigma present, challenging those gathered to unmask the co-conspirator. Suspense ripples through the room as everyone glances anxiously. The Emperor remains impassive, fully aware he is distorting truths. But it is the impression of hidden plans amongst the throne's inner circle that conjures the necessary suspicion. Feigning confidence, Emperor Gul presses further, concealing his past stratagems. It was believed you died at Apta, Gil states. Was there truly no one else involved? Finally, Gul speaks, his measured voice commanding silence. If I, the Crown Prince, were attacked so violently from inside, what were you doing in response? He urges his son, had his death at Apta been an affront, then why conceal his survival? Gil responds, explaining his motives. With an intimate tension escalating, Gul demands to know why Orba declared independence from Apta rather than directly meeting the Emperor. Why continue to rebel? Gul demands. Gil, adrenalized by the confrontation, insists, if a son believed dead were to re-emerge, his father would listen. Assuredly, with a commanding composure, he reasons his actions were born from necessity, a stance offset by the Emperor's attempt to silence him. With an unwavering stance, the Emperor inquires why Apta had been openly proclaimed a separate identity, questioning Orba's infiltration of Solan, instead of head-on confrontation. Did you intend to incite animosity? Gul pressures. Orba reasons, he never intended to create discord amongst ranks, and only fought to prove his existence. Still, the Emperor shows no sign of relenting. I implore a cessation of Alien's invasion, Gil shares, exercising control. He declares his will to prevent the prospective war steered from all Ion, one that ignited the tension across the throne's reach, amidst the nervous glances exchanged between the hall's attendees. Emperor Gul stands firm but bemused, clarity piercing through his authoritative veil. With Alien's menace looming grandly over Solan, the urgency beckons for unity. Yet, the Emperor contemplates sending Gil as an envoy back to End, a role meant more for diplomacy than for combat. Then, inexplicably, Gul commands his son to disrobe and show his back, unprecedented and unfathomable. Meanwhile, far away, the narrative shifts to Velina Owl's awakening, a scene awash in morning's soft light. Greeted by a precious memory, Velina links in a vibrant midday view, her grandfather Jorg encircled by nostalgia. Ryder emerges upon old recollections, Jorg's warmth and the tales lovingly stitched through familial leanings. Velina's dreamscape, clouded by longing, reconstructs fragmentary images of youthful days, lending solace to her heightened sense of loss. Encouraged by Jorg's presence, her inquiries unravel bittersweet truths locked within royal engagements. Her grandfather, whom she remembers dearly, stands independent of complexities ensconced around governmental intricacies. Her relationship with Jorg, not devoid of its uncertainties, now emphasizes bonds transformative amidst alliances and enmities. Remembering past endeavors, Velina inadvertently stumbles upon familiar quandaries surrounding Shikyu. Affections and renowned Vela reignite a profound appreciation for her grandfather's integral teachings. Jorg, tender yet pragmatic, labels Gul as an isolated ruler, querying the hardship shared beneath monarchal solitude, a king detached mightily as the center, tied unwaveringly by nationhood's demands. It becomes a realization that Velina met within the fold of self-exploratory dialogue led by a grandparent's prescient observances. Ultimately, Velina's reflections intertwine with an encounter of delicate severity. The prompting of memory induces images of past sacrifice, moments fraught with breath-catching transcendence. In a lifting spirit, revelations imbue a young princess with a renewed vigor, emboldened beneath Jorg's stealth-stitched encouragements. As undeterred, she braces for the challenges forged ahead, entwined seamlessly with familial and sovereign duty. Amid the thickening tension surrounding the territory of Mephius, Velina stands on a precipice of change, facing the legacy she carries and the burdens she bears. Her mind flashes back to the moment she pulled the trigger, ending the chaos that Salaman had unleashed. It was both a necessity and a punishment, marking an irreversible turning point that her heart has yet to fully reconcile with. In her conversations with the previous king, Jorg, Velina regains a sense of composure. His gentle nudge of her shoulders serves as a reminder of stability in the swirling turmoil. Their discourse drifts toward the pressing situation with Mephius and Garbira, as they both speculate on the motivations behind Alien's expanding influence. Observations flow between them about potential espionage amid En's inner circles, hinting at a landscape fraught with unseen threats and maneuverings. Amid this unrest, the Garbaran court deliberates En's plea for troops. The tension is palpable as King Ain deliberates how best to respond. There are concerns regarding Zenon, the king's son, whose actions have incited part of the turbulence in Zyme Fortress. Arguments spiral within the court as they teeter between punishing his actions or leveraging them as part of a broader strategic ploy. Ain listens to the council, considering the complex web of alliances and enmities that threaten to fracture their nation. Meanwhile, Rosetta, from the Order of the Tiger, expresses his willingness to march to war if summoned, underscoring the military readiness that tautly vibrates beneath the ongoing reconstructions of peace. Yet amidst the diplomatic and military stratagems, a profoundly personal thread runs, the grandfatherly concern Jorg holds for Velina. His heart swells with both pride and worry, watching the path she carves in these turbulent times. Velina, for her part, finds her thoughts often dwelling on Gil Mephius. His resolve, his isolation, and his role in these unfolding events weigh heavily on her, challenging her own decisions and resolve. Her solitary musings stretch through sleepless nights, confronting the dichotomy of war and peace, loss and hope. She dreams of connecting with Gil, desperately seeking some mutual understanding in the silent spaces between their souls. As time marches forward, Velina takes solace in the steady rhythm of daily walks around Zyme Fortress. This is a place haunted by past battles yet alive with the pulsing heart of resilience. Here, she finds a blend of admiration and curiosity from the soldiers, embodying a determination mirrored in her own spirit. The narrative shifts sharply when Ranobe, daughter to the Kotjun house, arrives. Her presence is both familiar and surprisingly pertinent to the current climate. Ranobe reveals the roots of her familial ties to those behind the escalating tensions. Her words echo with the weight of unspoken trysts between bloodlines and royal decrees. As Velina listens to Ranobe's revelations, she contemplates her own role amid the conflict that reaches across borders and families. The counsel and decisions she partakes in could steer nations, change fates, and reshape the very world around her. With a fierce determination, she reaches out to her grandfather, expressing her desire to actively engage in the unfolding events, sensing the urgency of her involvement. The story now shifts to New, navigating the politics within Zeno's castle. Here, the tactical intrigue deepens within the confining walls of power, pulling characters into a tumultuous dance of leadership and loyalty. With each conversation threading disparate destinies into the fabric of this vibrant and volatile era, Velina emerges as a central beacon of strength and resolve. In a tense atmosphere filled with political maneuvering, Prince Zenon stands at the brink of a decision that could reshape the future of two nations. Contemplating the suggestion to rally support through showing vulnerabilities and persuading commanders to voluntarily join his cause, Zenon acknowledges the strategic wisdom but also the risks involved. His advisor, Nue, emphasizes a proactive approach, advising, "It's not good music to my ears if the one meant to rule doesn't show his composure." Amidst this political chessboard, the people express mixed feelings towards Princess Velina. Her bold actions in support of Zenon during a previous conflict have polarized opinion. Some laud her courage, while others deem her a reckless provocateur. Zenon, acutely aware of these sentiments, receives an unexpected communication from Gil Mephius, a letter requesting the allowance of troops to enter Gabaran territory. This spikes tension, as accepting such a visible alliance could incite accusations of treason against Zenon. Caught in this diplomatic tangle, Zenon muses over the potential impact of this alliance with a stranger's wisdom, but with a political acuity, stating, "Facts are at their most dangerous when not delivered at the proper time." He's aware that he must tread carefully not to betray suspicions toward King Gabira or fuel the growing flames of dissent. At the palace, as Zenon approaches his father, the king, with the intent to discuss the critical issue, he finds himself intercepted by Duke Rosetta, accompanied by the cunning and noticeably inciting Dudley Kotjun. Their presence signals deeper complexities, likely exacerbating the king's tension and stirring old disputes within the court. Kotjun, with a penchant for meddling, draws Zenon's ire when he provocatively suggests seeking counsel with All Ion, which riles Zenon to counter, "I should be joining forces with you to convince His Majesty that we need to remove the threat of All Ion." Tension builds further as Rosetta and Zenon argue, only for their confrontation to be interrupted by the sudden appearance of Rinoa. Her unexpected entrance throws the court into even more disarray. Clad in striking attire, Rinoa bears a message from none other than Velina, sparking surprise with her declaration, "Yes, our previous king, His Excellency, entrusts me with speaking in his stead." Zenon finds himself awash in a sea of doubt and intrigue, caught between loyalties and the weight of leadership. As Rinoa continues to articulate her reasons, subtly undermining both enemy and ally with calculated charm, Velina's true intentions become a topic of wonder and speculation among the court. Zenon, reminded of her tactical brilliance and their past collaborative triumphs, reflects on how her decisive bravery had previously thwarted calamities from spiraling. The narrative weaves through princeling politics as Zenon is forced to confront the variegated implications of each decision, recognizing that his sister's Vela stands as both a beacon to follow and a burden of expectation. In the end, understanding that time and perception are his allies, Zenon prepares to weave through the shifting strands of alliance and enmity, seeking a path illuminated by foresight. Amid the tense realms of Gabira and Mephius, Zenon's tale continues to unfold, held together by fragile alliances, family reckonings, and the unyielding march of destiny. Please wait, Your Majesty! While Princess Velina has always been dauntless and brave, she is in no way a soldier, yet the Emperor of Mephius allowed her to experience such danger without batting an eye. The words pierce through the assembly as Zenon firmly defends the situation. He is filled with resolve, standing before King Axe, who is deeply contemplative. The voices around echo, filled with concern and disbelief, especially that of Salthentis, who enters, having rushed from Dudley's house. "Those savage barbarians, how dare they?" echoes a sentiment shared by the nobles. It is noted that despite the chaos, this was a significant event, revealing challenges that could no longer be hidden. When Zenon is accused of being negligent, he stands his ground with an unwavering eye. His determination is palpable as he faces the king with steadfast eyes, the weight of honor and responsibility resting heavily upon him. King Axe responds to the turmoil by maintaining a composed demeanor, devoid of unnecessary emotion. Of course, neither Zenon nor Salmander are unaware. He acknowledges that no more questions about the past will help, only action now matters. In light of the demands and questions, Rosetta raises his voice, urging them to acknowledge the truth. His words resonate with determination. Zenon, fulfilling his warrior's duty, pledges to deploy soldiers to Gabira's aid. Zenon stands accepting the king's orders without hesitation. The king, recognizing his readiness, clicks his heels, staring with intent into Zenon's impassioned face. "Gather your soldiers immediately." The decisive exchange underscores the gravity of the situation. Zenon, his resolve emboldened, stands ready to fulfill his promise to protect and support the future of Gabira. Riding beside Zenon after the meeting, Kotjun, with the sun glancing off his stern expression, remains silent yet aware. The pair reflect on Zenon's nerve to protect his honor despite the crushing weight of responsibility. Zenon ruminates on Velina, her image vivid in his mind amidst the chaos. The past events have left a lingering impact, highlighting the importance of their alliance with Mephius. 2 days later, Prince Zenon presents a letter to his father, King Axe. The letter is from Gil Mephius. It confirms that troops are being dispatched to reinforce Garbira, signaling a shift toward collective strength. Further developments unfold as Moldorf, a commander from Tauren, arrives to greet Zenon. Their meeting symbolizes the unity of the once fragmented West. Moldorf's imposing presence is marked by strength honed over years, reflecting the history between their people, a history slowly melding into unity. Zenon is mindful of the past rivalries, yet amazed by how a single call from Gil Mephius inspires cooperation between disparate lands. Fragments of doubt remain, but the overall momentum is toward peace and recovery. As the soldiers ready themselves, Zenon ponders the political landscapes, aware that history is often rewritten during these tumultuous times. He recalls Velina's forthcoming journey back to Mephius, praying for her safety. The narration shifts to Nue, who observes Velina's calm poise in the midst of impending departure. The princess's demeanor is as unwavering as ever, a testament to her strength and adaptability. Nue admires her resolve, realizing her intimate connections with the heart of this political storm are deeper than they appear. Back in Solan, Orba finds himself confronting the Emperor, Gul, who demands to see the mark of servitude presumably on him. The court watches in shock as the demand catches Orba off guard. Gul's voice commands an eerie silence, weighing heavily in the air. As tension builds, Orba contemplates the grim repercussions that could follow. Gul's accusatory tone pierces the atmosphere like a blade. The tension is almost palpable, each word hanging like a sword of Damocles over Orba's head. Despite the razor-edged atmosphere, Orba attempts to steady his nerves. He had anticipated a challenge, but the Emperor's volatile demeanor demands more cunning than expected. Orba knows his position teeters on the precipice of devastation, yet he clings to hope, believing there's a path through the perilous situation. The layers of deception surrounding Orba begin to unravel, threatening to expose the painful truths that haunt him. His connection to the Emperor and identity, precarious and fraught with danger, becomes a nightmarish struggle against exposure. He grapples internally, seeking ways to maintain his cover in the unforgiving court, where missteps pave the way to ruin. The story heats to a boiling point, underscoring the intricate web of political intrigue and personal vendetta. Orba stands at a crossroads, the weight of the Emperor's scrutiny pressing heavily on his shoulders, poised to determine the fate not just of himself but potentially of the kingdoms intertwined in the expanding wartime chessboard. In the dimly lit depths of Orba's consciousness, a familiar voice echoes, relentless and haunting. Orba hears the repetitive calls of generals, reminding him that if he falters now, his son's name will be dragged into chaos again. These voices intertwine, creating a cacophony within him. The sound is deafening, and amidst it all, someone asks, "Who am I?" This simple yet profound question causes Orba's world, once cloaked in darkness, to shimmer. The face of a young girl, with shimmering platinum hair, appears vividly. Her gentle presence seems to turn Orba's internal chaos into tangible bullets, piercing through his heart. Suddenly, a sharp heat replaces the cold paralysis. The heat is intense, chasing away the chill and awakening every corner of his being. But as Orba opens his eyes, he is alone, surrounded by the echoes of Gul Mephius' voice asking, "Who are you?" With tears cascading down, Orba's expression is raw, his vulnerability laid bare for all to witness. Before the astonished court, he weeps silently, each tear bearing the weight of uncounted emotions. Those around him are in disbelief, unable to comprehend the strange image of the battle-hardened Orba reduced to tears. Gul, observing Orba's fragility, sneers, contempt dripping from every word. But Orba's focus drifts to something much deeper. Memories resurface, memories of his duty to deliver the medallion entrusted to him by Princess Velina, an act echoing through his consciousness. After saving Salamand and gathering crucial information about impending actions against Garbira, Velina had faced danger head-on, ultimately risking her life. Stricken down by a shot fired by one of the Imperial Guards, Velina had clung to consciousness only long enough to hand Orba the medallion for Prince Gil. Standing in this court, he finally sees the burning path before him, realizing that it was Velina who handed him both the medallion and the responsibilities tied to it. But a poignant thought gnaws at him, if only I was the real Gil Mephius. Doubts mingle with determination as Orba steels himself internally. he recalls facing numerous challenges not because he coveted being a crown prince, but because of a kind-hearted girl who had given him hope amid despair. Despite not being Gil in truth, Orba finds resolve in carrying the burden of the throne's legacy. It stirs a truth within him, urging him forward. Orba stands in the harsh spotlight of the Emperor's ire, steadfast and unwavering. The court, filled with figures of power and betrayal, holds its breath in anticipation. Orba's true essence, shaped by the trials and tribulations he faced, radiates outward, challenging the legitimacy of Ghoul's rule. Ghoul's face contorts as he battles his own fury and disbelief, yet Orba remains resolute. The air thickens with tension as Orba spreads his arms wide, calmly challenging Ghoul's authority. He asks, "Are you afraid, father?" Each word serves as both a plea and a provocation to those watching. Orba's internal conviction becomes contagious, infusing the room with a new energy. As the Emperor grapples with this unexpected rebellion, Mephius makes her move. She steps forward, seeking to block Ghoul's madness, throwing her support behind Orba. Her body a shield, she pleads, "Please, stop." Ineli's actions, unexpected and bold, shake the court to its core. Her defiance breathes new life into the throne room, emphasizing the emotional schism dividing the empire. Her earnestness solidifies the bizarre truth that resides within Orba's heart, a truth stronger than loyalty to any crown or title. It's a truth grounded in personal evolution, destined to steer a wayward kingdom back to stability. Orba, with the weight of destiny upon his shoulders, stands unyielding as he meets Ineli's support with gratitude. This singular moment, where glances and convictions collide, offers a glint of hope amidst uncertainty. Ghoul, held at bay by his own daughter's courage, finds himself cornered by the very family he sought to control. Silence engulfs the room briefly, each breath its own sound. The final gambit dangles within reach, the choice between chaos and peace swaying delicately in the balance. As whispers dissipate and resolve strengthens, the future of Mephius hinges on Orba's next move, fueled by honor, courage, and, above all, an unwavering commitment to truth, even against the shadows of deception. Indolf York stands in the tense atmosphere of the Imperial faction, lined up against Fedem Orlin. The weight of his decision is tangible in his command, "Lower your gun," he insists to Arba, who hesitates, poised to pull the trigger. The air is thick with anticipation as the possibility of violence looms. The receivers shuffle nervously, the winds of an unseen force swirling around them, hinting at danger. When Mephius Emperor Ghoul appears, his authority and presence press heavily on the assembly. Arba, uncertain but resolved, squeezes the trigger. Yet, the chamber only clicks, no bullet fires. Twice more, the same result. Arba halts, filled with realization and dread, heart pounding in the silence. The Emperor, his voice steady and commanding, addresses the gathered crowd. He acknowledges Arba's effort but chastens Fedem, recognizing the stirrings of rebellion and misplaced ambition. Then, in a surprising turn, Ghoul acknowledges Ghoul Mephius' presence, affirming him as his legitimate child. "You are my child and rightful heir," he declares unequivocally. Simultaneously, elsewhere, his proclamation reverberates through the kingdom, cementing Gil's acceptance as crown prince. This declaration bolsters the unity between Mephius and their allies, promising a future of promise and reinforced ties. Gil, aware of the responsibilities and challenges ahead, reflects on these developments. Soon, the soldiers perceive the shifting political landscape with a mix of relief and uncertainty. The thought of peace teases their weary hearts, even as a renewed call for reinforcement against looming threats beckons. Underneath these shifts, whispers of allegiances and strategies swirl. Orba, entrenched within this maelstrom of intrigue and politics, keenly observes. The tactical landscape is his canvas, and its topography changes with every decision made by those in power. He remains wary of alliances and enmities, aware that the fulcrum of power could shift at any moment. Orba's trust, worn thin by the tides of war and treachery, remains fragile. In his mind, the potential for betrayal by allies like Orlion and the precarious alliance with Garbira looms large. His past as a gladiator, the scars of battle, and the echoes of commands on a battlefield bleed into his current role as a tactician and advisor. Meanwhile, the pragmatic realities of war logistics persist. Troop preparations and reinforcements are meticulously planned, with Prince Eric offering support and wisdom. Orba's resolve is ironclad as he considers the geographic and political gambits necessary for successful campaigns. As the drama unfolds, Orba recalls his interaction with the Emperor, recognizing the layered duplicity in every decision. The Emperor's admission leaves Orba contemplative, deeply embedding the complexities of leadership and power within him. Rejoining the bustling preparations, Orba approaches the majestic dragon pens within Solan. Here, he finds Huran, ever dedicated to her charges, who anchors his thoughts toward the tangible reality of their existence. Together, they share a moment of levity, naming a young dragon Milbak. The tiny cracks in Huran's reserved demeanor allow warmth to seep through. In the strategic room, Orba reunites families torn apart by war and circumstance. The emotional reunion swell, freckled with tears of relief and reunion, strengthening the human bonds that underpin their collective resolve. It's in these moments that the weight of leadership visibly lightens, if only briefly. Among these reunions stands Foka Baron, solid and dependable in his loyalty and expertise. His smile speaks volumes, underlying unspoken truths and a shared understanding amidst the men around them. The air within the palace vibrates with action as Orba gives the order to reposition forces. Troops led by trusted commanders, including Uria's Bow of Gathering Clouds division, reflect the firm intention behind each tactical decision. Orba's mind spins with thoughts on how these movements will shape the imminent face of conflict. Foka plays his role with commitment, knowing the vast importance of his mission in safeguarding their people. With every stride, the shadow of wary alliances and looming threats trails them, ever present. The narrative weaves together anticipation, resolve, and hope amidst a deepening world of political intricacies and personal trials. Underneath, the heartbeat of humanity hums loudly, marking its relentless march towards what fate has in store. As dawn breaks, Orba takes command with a sense of purpose. The soldiers, now fully equipped, muster their determination. His own demeanor is marked by resoluteness, ready for the tasks that lie ahead. Observing the activity, Din inquires about the name of Orba's ship. Orba, momentarily caught off guard, chuckles at his oversight. The ship remains unnamed, symbolizing the fresh start Orba anticipates upon returning. Orba reflects on Din's dedication, expressing gratitude for his unwavering support. Din remains ever the teacher, reminding Orba that gratitude is uncommon among the nobility, emphasizing dignity and composure. Yet, Orba appreciates the bond, acknowledging the past as a way to maintain humility. The atmosphere on the ships is tense yet hopeful. The soldiers, including former gladiators like Paha, Gilliam, Kane, and Miguel, exude a quiet confidence. As they prepare to depart, Orba's commanding voice rings out, "Move out." With determination, they embark, the weight of the mission tangible. In an unsettling scene, Emperor Ghoul Mephius finds himself haunted by solitude and past memories. Disconnected from his daily routine, he is roused by a voice that questions his isolation, urging him to engage with the world. An old retainer, one of the few familiar voices, encourages Ghoul, reminding him of days when hope was palpable, symbolized by the thriving city of Solan. The retainer reminisces about Empress Lana, Ghoul's late wife, emphasizing her irreplaceable role as mediator and advisor. Despite her loss, the retainer insists she instilled strength in him, urging him to embrace life again. But Ghoul remains ensnared by grief and his own perceived failures, unable to shake the past. Suddenly, a voice invades his dark thoughts, brutally honest, dissecting Ghoul's relentless self-pity. The unseen speaker challenges him, pointing out his inability to forgive, even in light of Lana's passing. The voice echoes the inner turmoil, pushing Ghoul towards self-reflection, forcing him to confront the raw reality of his choices. A surprising visitor interrupts, a messenger from the dragon god's faith. His words are curt, with a warning veiled in ominous terms. He hints at ongoing machinations, suggesting Ghoul should retire to plot or listen. As the messenger departs, a deeper conspiracy seems to reveal itself, lurking in the shadows. Meanwhile, in a darkened room elsewhere, an old man named Gada contemplates the past. Coughing and frail, he recalls key events, the alliances and power struggles that swirled around the crown prince. Reflecting on past failures and setbacks, he acknowledges the slow, relentless march of time. In the gloom, Garda seeks guidance from Tsar, another of his circle. They discuss their ongoing schemes, centered on the crown prince. Though weakened, Garda's mind sharpens with intent, urging Tsar to act swiftly, foreshadowing a fateful confrontation. As preparations continue, Empress Flora Mephius faces her own struggles. Brought up in the shadow of noble tradition, her life is dictated by duty and expectation. Solan is restless, her people caught between despair and hope. Flora observes this, aware of her precarious position amidst the shifting alliances. An undercurrent of tension pervades the palace halls. Nobles, once entrenched in their loyalty, now waver, seeking new alliances. Flora feels the pressure acutely, aware that her every move is scrutinized. The clamor of voices grows as courtiers vie for power and influence, all centered around the figure of Crown Prince Gil Mephius. Even within the inner sanctum, whispers of rebellion and loyalty swirl around Flora. Her steps tentative among the palace intrigues, she retreats to her mother's chambers for solace. There, in the familiar refuge, she finds temporary peace. In a world defined by power and ambition, each character, from Orba to the Emperor, navigates the turbulent waters of political upheaval and personal vendettas. The tension builds, shadows lengthening over Solan, as all await the inevitable clash of destinies. The young warrior Empress Melissa stands in the grandeur of the palace, facing her daughter Flora with harsh words. She expresses her displeasure, lamenting Flora's defiance, and warns her, with this issue as well, she's planning on making fools out of the adults. Melissa's anger is palpable, fueled by Flora's recent actions that conspired to gain Nelwyn's trust. Concerned that her court's control might be slipping, Melissa warns Flora to not let that cat wander around in the inner palace. Flora, undeterred by her mother's admonishment, maintains her poise. Even so, the strained mother-daughter relationship is evident. As Nelwyn enters the room, Flora shifts her focus to Nelwyn, thankful for the British girl's composed nature. After a moment of stillness, Flora follows her mother's silent cue to leave, realizing that there's nothing more for her to do. As Flora exits, she encounters Tsar Sidious, a loyal warrior escort, who courteously allows her passage. Inside, Zars is summoned by the Empress, greeted with her characteristic commanding presence. Melissa praises Zars for his allegiance, acknowledging his part in managing the Crown Prince's side, and preparing him for his next critical task. Transitioning to a new scene, the bustling Zongan port town Washmel is alive with nocturnal activity, notorious for its gambling and vices. Amidst the chaos, Prince Kassiria Jamil, leading a battalion of 2,000 soldiers, is preparing for a significant move. Jeremy Anomori, a seasoned Zongan warrior, engages in a clandestine meeting with Lance Maspotter, strategizing about Alien's precarious situation. In a sharp exchange, Jeremy is anxious as he questions Lance about their slow response, stressing, "At this rate, aren't you just needlessly granting that damned Eric a reprieve?" Lance, however, is composed, alluding to a complex web of politics and military maneuvers that must be carefully synchronized. Despite these mounting pressures, their conversation reveals a deeply strategic mind at work. Lance's interaction with Jeremy triggers a series of flashbacks, reflecting on past battles and alliances. He recalls the weighty role he's played as an instructor to Kassiria, preparing the young warrior for inevitable warfare. Despite his reservations, he finds himself reflecting on Kassiria's growth, admiring how the young heir has blossomed into one of the kingdom's finest swordsmen. Meanwhile, Prince Eric of All Ion, ever the strategic thinker, deliberates over potential moves. The shadow of Garbara's sudden involvement looms over their plans, casting uncertainty. He contemplates the wisdom of retreat, yet is haunted by the possibility of squandering momentum gained during previous offensives. Eric, caught between immediate tactical needs and the complexity of long-term survival, listens attentively to his advisors. Amongst the discussions, the suggestion to send a message to Kassiria in Zonga emerges, aligning seamlessly with Jeremy's concern over a lingering threat. Lance Maspotter takes part in operations. Amid these tensions, a palpable camaraderie exists between warriors as they unwind in the western encampment. Eric shares a moment of reflection with Zenon, rekindling memories of battles past. Zenon, once a formidable ally, now stands as a reminder of Eric's storied journey through adversity. The shadows of our past cling to us, Eric muses, recalling the strong bonds forged in the crucible of war. He values loyalty almost above all, knowing that unity among his ranks may yet become their greatest strength against encroaching enemies. Elsewhere, Eric's council contemplates Garbara's strategic positioning along the Zongan coast. The realm's shifting alliances and military deployments underscore the volatile dynamics at play. Many wonder how these maneuvers will affect their looming confrontation with End. As the night deepens, a sense of inevitable conflict underscores the air. Above all, Eric and his allies brace themselves for the convergence of efforts across these enmeshed political landscapes. With storm clouds of war gathering on the horizon, each decision becomes critical, each movement potentially leading to victory or down a dark descent to ruin. In this cauldron of ambition, courage, and fate, the stakes have never been higher, as all prepare for the next battle that may just reshape the destiny of their kingdoms forever. Kassiria Jamil, the Lord of End, plots strategically with his advisor. As they ponder recent events, Kassiria acknowledges being informed of Alien's movements by a trusted messenger. He reflects on the complexities of war, realizing all Ion might take advantage of the turmoil between End and their external foes. Eric arrives to find a scene bursting with tension. Belmore, his trusted ally, quickly briefs Eric on their situation. They've captured scouts from All Ion who are a blend of defiance and fear. Eric, firm yet compassionate, understands they are simply pawns of war. Leave the rest to you, he tells Belmore. Back at the Pluto's mansion, Eric relishes a short respite with Reen and Thil, daughters of Canis' eldest son. These familial ties offer warmth in a world embroiled in strife. Eric shares a meal with Belmore, reflecting on the bonds they have forged and the trials they face. The conversation steers back to their looming threat. Eric explains his strategy, a deception plot aimed at All Ion. He plans for a decoy to bait their scouts, biding time to consolidate strength. Belmore nods, ready to execute the plan. Prince Kassiria will not take action, declares Eric, focusing on the larger scheme that unfolds before him. In another realm, Gil Mephius prepares for travel, reflecting on his past actions and motivations. He engages with Princess Inelli, discussing loyalty and ambitions. Inelli articulates her cunning understanding of imperial politics, aware of the delicacies and treacheries at play. Her musings are interrupted by the forceful entrance of Tsar Sidious. He is adamant, citing orders to arrest Inelli by command of Empress Melissa. Inelli, shocked yet composed, feels the noose tightening around her allegiances and ambitions. Despite the starkness of her situation, she maintains a strategic poise, considering her next move carefully. As tensions reach their zenith, a mysterious swordsman, Walt, blocks Tsar's. This sudden appearance ignites a frenzied confrontation. Tsar's, infuriated, confronts Walt with venom, recognizing him as a former peer now turned enemy. The air brims with animosity and unresolved alliances. Amid the chaos, Inelli's resilience shines through. She decides on a course of action, opting to align with Odin. "I am going to Odin," she declares to Walt. Her decision, a blend of defiance and strategic calculation, sets a new path forward in the unfolding drama of power. In the backdrop of these movements, Solan stands gripped by unfolding upheaval. The Emperor, entangled by internal factions and whispers of dissent, is but a shadow of former authority. Amid this discord, a watchful figure, Oyuberi Bailan, quietly anticipates his next move, poised to manipulate the chaotic chessboard of imperial destiny. Through these layers of intrigue, alliances, and strategies, the narrative unfolds with a compelling clarity. As each player maneuvers, the story drives toward an uncertain horizon where every decision bears the weight of destiny's ripple. In the shadows of a kingdom torn by turmoil, Ubri, a man enveloped in bitterness and regret, stands before a window. His mind is consumed by memories of flames and destruction. Despite the chaos, he finds cold satisfaction in the belief that his predictions of doom have come true. "It's just as I said. Isn't Solan burning, just as I prophesied?" he muses bitterly, seemingly detached from the tragedy unfolding around him. A knock interrupts his thoughts, drawing him away from his maddening reverie. A messenger stands at his door, announcing she dearly hopes for General Ubri Bylan's assistance. It's a call not just from the Empire, but from the Empress herself. In a moment of hesitation, Ubri's heart weighs heavy as he considers the request, a glimmer of the warrior still left in him. In Barak, the air is tense with the anticipation of war. The noble Goin stands amidst his bustling camp. Discontent lingers as the news of Solan's fall sends ripples through the ranks. Raised banners flutter defiantly against the sharp winds, yet the uncertainty of the times pens a grim narrative over the soldiers' determined faces. Unexpectedly, the arrival of Princess Velina stirs a different kind of restlessness. She steps gracefully out of her carriage, looking every bit the composed royal, yet Goin can see the resolute fire in her eyes. "It's been a while, Goin. I will be causing you trouble," she announces, her words layered with a dual promise of leadership and the challenges they both know lie ahead. Underneath her poised exterior, Velina harbors unexpressed worries. Her encounters at court and the ruthless political machinations weigh heavily. Nevertheless, she moves with purpose through Barak Castle, adopting her role with all the dignity of her station. Velina's knight, Alnuk, is by her side, a personal guard dedicated to her safety. His past as a low-ranking soldier contrasts sharply with his newfound responsibility, one that he embraces with loyalty and gratitude. To him, serving the princess is like holding a long-desired dream, an opportunity to stand by a figure of immense influence and resolve. As Velina manages the affairs of the castle, she secretly investigates a more delicate matter, the fate of Layla, a woman wrongfully imprisoned within the depths of the very walls she graces with her presence. Alnuk aids the princess in her quiet endeavor, carefully navigating the guards stationed at the tower where Layla is held. In Layla's cell, the mood shifts to one of constrained desperation. Accused and trapped by forces she can't fight, Layla nevertheless holds on to a shred of hope embodied by Velina's visit. Tearful and fraught with nostalgia, the reunion is poignant and painful. Layla reveals the source of her despair: "I was robbed of my future by His Imperial Highness, the Crown Prince." Velina is taken aback, her mind reeling with the implications of Layla's words. It's a revelation that shakes the very foundation of her beliefs, especially when faced with the woman's insistence that the prince who claims her as his bride is not who he seems. "Impossible," Velina murmurs, grappling with the unthinkable reality. While Velina processes this staggering truth, Layla describes a scene from a past filled with grief and betrayal, ultimately leading to a marriage ceremony haunted by confusion. "He claimed his right to be my husband, and told to share a bed with the prince," Layla states, her voice trembling with the weight of past horrors. Outside, Alnuk stands guard, vigilant yet empathetic to the secretive kindness of his charge, the princess who commands with grace and clever foresight. Velina's ability to balance her royal duties with her quest for justice and truth speaks to her indomitable spirit. For though she smiles outwardly, she is a fervent seeker of the hidden machinations that threaten to consume her world. A whirlpool of emotions grips the characters, each deeply impacted by the foreboding shadow cast by the mysterious imposter crown prince. The truth that Velina seeks is not just about political intrigue, it cuts to the heart of identity, loyalty, and the unyielding ghosts of the past. As the narrative unfolds, the stakes are elevated: the princess, the warrior general, the tormented prisoner, all play roles in the grand tapestry of power, revenge, and destiny. Their paths converge in a kingdom on the brink, where the line between ally and enemy blurs, and courage is tested against overwhelming odds. And while the embers of past conspiracies continue to smolder, ever ready to ignite, the players in this gripping tale prepare for what only the heart can truly brace for: the impending changes that promise to redefine them all, daring them to either forge their own fates or be consumed by the chaos around them.